Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our fourth concert of our 40th annual Summerfest. Let's just take a moment and just really appreciate how amazing it is to be finally in a stage live together, hearing music. One thing we've definitely learned this year is how amazing it is when the symbiotic relationship between the audience and the performance is here, because we had to go a whole year and a half without it. So it's just really, really special and incredible to see you all here tonight in such a big and great crowd. And we're so excited to be doing this. You might be wondering why I'm holding my phone. It's because I want to let you know we're doing, we didn't think we did enough new things this year, so we thought we'd try one more. If you want the program for tonight's concert, there are QR codes on your tables or out in the lobby. You open up the phone app on your phone, the camera app on your phone, you hover it over that little square, and it pops up for you. So that's our attempt to keep everybody safe with going paperless and also help the environment. Tonight I'd like to thank There's just so many people that need to be thanked to make this happen. It's a very, very large team of volunteers, of musicians, of staff, the crew here at the center, the board of directors for Music in the Mountains. If you're on our board, could you stand up or wave your hand at least and let everybody give you a thank you? I'd also like to especially thank the Music in the Mountains staff who saw us through this crazy year. Last year, I forced them to try all brand new things that they'd never done before. We said, hey, we're going to do everything virtually, something none of us had done. Half of us were barely computer literate, but hey, let's do it. So Nancy and Kay and Shannon and Hillary and Marge and Linda and Ryan, our artistic director, of course. Thank everybody for being on that journey with us this year. And lastly, I'd like to thank some of the people, most of the people in this room actually, in some way made this happen by buying a ticket or making a donation or volunteering to help people find their seats. But also, I'd like to especially thank George and Joanne Rebane. They underwrote all of the concerts for our 2021 season. I'd like to thank Fran and Adam Bradell with Smarter Broadband Incorporated. Jeff Leiter is one of our sponsors for tonight's concert. And Kim Zwick and Andy Bernadette with Full Circle Financial. They're behind. Thank you all for making this great music that we make together possible. So without further ado, I would like to welcome to the stage Robin Mayforth, our concertmaster.
Well, good evening, everybody. Jenny said pretty much everything, so I can just echo all those comments that it's really, really great to be here with all of you. This is my first concert that I've conducted with a live audience since March 3rd of the previous year. So it's been a long time. And I know that we're just all so grateful to be here and to be able to share music with everybody. And for those that aren't able to be here but are watching us virtually, thank you for tuning in. Let's thank and welcome our virtual audience. And we're going to start tonight's program with a Mozart Divertimento. And these divertimentos were written when Mozart was somewhere between 14 and 15 years old, which is pretty amazing, at the culmination of his second European tour, if you can imagine. And we talked about this a lot over the series as well, that there are certain pieces from this time period that didn't really survive, and there are other ones that we still play today. And the great question always is, why is that? And with Mozart, it's like every note is put in exactly the right place. And this beautiful divertimento, which has all kinds of different colors and energy, and a second movement with these beautiful suspended harmonies that kind of make us think of the operas that are coming later. So Mozart spent time in Italy, and on the way back to Salzburg, he wrote these divertimenti. And sometimes they're called the Salzburg Symphonies. And Mozart's way of writing music was not like many other composers. He likely wrote the entire pieces while riding in the cart on the way back to Salzburg, and wrote them all in his head, and then got home and quickly wrote them out on paper, and then they had the performance. Perfect from the first try. It's really amazing. And these pieces are kind of influenced by the Italian style. So at this time period in Italy, concertos were really popular, where there was a solo instrument and other instruments accompanying. And so you'll notice in this divertimento that the first violin section takes on the role of the soloist, playing a lot of the melodic lines and a lot of the interesting rhythmic patterns, while the rest of the orchestra kind of joins in on the accompaniment. So enjoy Mozart divertimento in F. Thanks, everybody. That's something you forget to remember to do, is to bow at the end of the piece. So next we're playing a piece called Lyric for Strings by George Walker. And George Walker is a composer of a lot of different firsts. Let me just adjust here. I can hear myself better anyway. So Walker is a composer of many firsts. He was the first African-American composer to win the Pulitzer Prize for his piece Lilacs in 1996. He was also the first African-American composer to graduate from the Curtis Institute and the New England Conservatory, and one of the first major soloists playing pieces like the Rachmaninoff Second Piano Concerto with Philadelphia Orchestra and those sorts of groups. This is Lyric for Strings. This was written while he was studying at Curtis and was a classmate of Samuel Barber. And so we think, there's a little bit of influence of Barber's Adagio for Strings and this Lyric for Strings, which was written for his grandmother. And Walker said, although I don't play a string instrument, I've had a lifelong fascination with strings, and that's part of why I wrote this piece. And I think it's just really one of the great pieces in the repertoire, and it might be a Nevada County premiere tonight, so I hope you enjoy Walker Lyric for Strings. So the next piece is not a Nevada County premiere. In fact, it's a piece that's been on many programs over the years because it's an amazing piece. This is the Elgar Serenade for Strings. And Elgar is an interesting composer because around this time when a lot of composers were trying to write in a very nationalistic kind of way, Elgar didn't have a ton of patience for English music. So you kind of get this German Romantic influence of composers like Brahms and Dvorak, as well as the French influence in the way of writing for the orchestra, with just a little bit of English sentimentality, I guess you could say. And Elgar said at the end of his life that this was one of his favorite pieces because it was very stringy in effect. But it's a fantastic piece. It was the first piece of Elgar's that he was really happy with himself and kind of shows us the beginning of his real professional development as a composer. Elgar Serenade for Strings. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this virtual concert. As you may know, our Music in the Mountains chorus spent much of the last year and a half rehearsing online and making virtual recordings. Well, this summer we were able to actually come together and make a live recording at the Center for the Arts. So we're going to take a brief interlude from our string concert to hear from our Music in the Mountains chorus. They'll perform 4 pieces for you: Sing Me to Heaven of Daniel Gothrop, Sure on This Shining Night by Samuel Barber, Palestrina's Sicut Cervus, and Die Nachtigall by Felix Mendelssohn. I hope you enjoyed these chorus pieces, and I know we're all looking forward to our live and in-person choral concert coming up in November.
Words alone are vain and vacant, and my heart is mute. In response to aching silence, memory summons half-heard voices, and my soul finds primal eloquence.
the next piece is by Florence Price, another composer of many firsts. So Price was the first African-American woman to be really taken seriously as a symphonic composer. She won the Wanamaker Prize for her first symphony, wrote really, really amazing lyric works for orchestra and string quartet and lots of other kinds of ensembles. And this piece is called Adoration, and it was originally written for organ, and it's later been rearranged for many different groups, although I think that this string orchestra version really works well. It adds another layer of color to the piece. And it's just a lovely little piece that kind of mixes the traditional romanticism of the Romantic period and of symphonic playing with a little sound of Americana as well. Florence Price, Adoration. So we've come to our final piece on the program by Edvard Grieg, and this is the Preludium from his Holberg suite. And Grieg is an interesting composer and very different from Elgar. So where Elgar was not so interested in nationality and music, Grieg became really, really interested. He originally went to Germany to learn German Romanticism. And then he got involved with a politically minded group in Norway and decided that there would be no more German Romanticism in his music, and he was going to capture the Norwegian sound. And it worked really well for Grieg because in his mid-20s, he got a pension for life from Norway as their composer. So it was quite a... But his music has a really interesting and lovely clarity to it because he kind of sheds off this German Romanticism. So this Holberg suite was meant to look back to an earlier time, and so it's got some classical rhythms and classical harmonies with that unique kind of Grieg sound.
Thank